Hello. This video is focused on. No, I'm going to do a better introduction, but I'll upload this anyway. So this is my video process. It's completely spontaneous. I virtually never plan the video, not even the topic, but it's in my mind that I want to speak about. The spontaneous nature of all action. So, but it's, that says it well, the spontaneous nature of all action. And the salient point there is the non-volitional, the spontaneous nature of all action. All action happens spontaneously, meaning it's not initiated by an individual, independent, seemingly separate, authoring self. As Paul Hedderman, who I really love, Paul, if you're not familiar with Paul Hedderman, check him out, Zen Bitch Slap. He has a term or a phrase. He says there's no long-lasting independent entity. There's no separate long-lasting independent entity. And Jean Klein, who is a well-known and very well-respected Advaita teacher who's since passed away and has been succeeded by his disciple Francis Lucille, who I have a lot of time for. Jean Klein had a phrase: "There is not a single independent entity anywhere in the entire cosmos." Such a freeing thought and realization. So why would I share this with you? I feel moved and inspired to share this. So why would I share this with you? It's due to the awakening that I had. I met my guru, Master Charles Cannon. I thought he was a fake. When his eyes met mine, there was an explosion of divine love, a profound energetic awakening, and some 6 days or so later, a spontaneous process of self-inquiry that was triggered not long after meeting him, or that kind of arose spontaneously not long after meeting him. It culminated in a profound awakening that revealed directly that the oneness of being. And so I this awakening happened. I sat quietly, silently for I've got no idea how long. And I stood up and I realized, this is what the sages speak about. This is self-knowledge. The me had vanished. The me as the center of consciousness had vanished. It was seen to be an object and it vanished. And so I stood looking at the wall, and there was no separation between I and the wall. And this was the revelation of what is. And I marveled. There's no separation. The I pervades everything. The very presence of being that you are right now, the feeling of I, or the sense of I am, they call it, the feeling of I am, the I amness in you right now, is right now universal. It's just that it's the mind, which is a really profound power in the self, and which does things, still under the impetus of the universal power. The mind is still an instrument of the universal power. But the mind creates a sense of me and a self-concept. And the all-pervading consciousness that you are becomes identified with that self-concept. So it was in the light of this revelation of oneness, it's revealed there's no separate self-center. There's consciousness itself, or awareness itself, is universal, and its center is everywhere. It's equally everywhere. I don't quite say, I mean, I just said it has no center, but it's more than its center is everywhere. And so it suddenly, thoughts kept arising. See, in this moment of this awakening, thoughts were still arising. And it was suddenly seen without a seer. You see, what we are is seeing. There is no separate seer. It was suddenly seen, oh, these thoughts are arising. They happen. It was as the awakening deepened, it was directly seen and understood and known that thoughts are vibrations of consciousness. So all phenomena were revealed as being appearances in awareness and modifications of awareness. The fundamental essence of everything is eternal, unbounded. It's not a thing. It's not one of the. It's not an object among objects, I like to say. The thought, it was seen. Thoughts just arise. I remember a few days later, and I'm sharing about why am I sharing this with you about everything is a spontaneous happening, right? All action is a spontaneous happening. There is no individual doer authoring the action. So the next day I was due to start work, and I stood before the entryway to the place that I worked. And the thought arose spontaneously because the mind's reacting to this new environment, this new situation. And the thought arose, oh, how's the work going to get done? And it was quite bizarre. It was just suddenly the body was standing in front of the bench and cleaning out a bowl, It was in a medical setting, and I was basically cleaning and admin. And back then, I hadn't come across this. It hadn't stood out to me, at least. I must have read it, but it hadn't stood out to me prior to this awakening. That there's no doer. That all actions are happening spontaneously. So it was directly revealed that there's that the body just moves. The way I worded it at the time, or the way the mind phrased it, was all action is like a kriya. Here you're watching this on a YouTube channel, and I'm in a Shaktipat tradition, and so in Shaktipat, which is to do with Kundalini yoga, when the Kundalini energy awakens profoundly and powerfully, it may happen that spontaneous yogic postures and processes take place, and these are called kriyas. So, and it struck me after this awakening, all action is a spontaneous action, you see, because when a kriya happens with the under the force of an intense Kundalini awakening, the action is clearly spontaneous. The energy is coursing through the body, the body dissolves into undulating waves of vibration, and it's just all happening. So with this awakening, it was revealed, even a simple action, lifting a pen, or an internal commentary about something, saying yes or no to something, opening a door, sitting down, standing up, going to bed, a decision that gets made, the deliberation before a decision, you see, a choice that gets made, the deliberation before the choice that gets made. Those are spontaneous movements of life energy. And they all happen in concert and holistically, we could say, as a movement of the totality. And this is all witnessed by you. Right now, the fact is, your status right now, as you're listening to this, is you are the witnessing. What you are is the witnessing of the happening of life through the apparatus that we call you, through the apparatus that your mother named and that your wife or husband married. You see, you are the witnessing. There is no witness. And this witnessing that you are, this witnessing that we are, actually sees through the phenomena of the manifest and really only ever beholds it, consciousness. The witnessing is witnessing. It's an ocean of awareness. And within this ocean of awareness, the manifest reality has arisen spontaneously out of the potentiality of consciousness. Consciousness is an infinite potentiality, awareness and infinite energy and love and creative power. And it spontaneously bubbles forth as the universe. And then within that universe, there are body-mind apparatus. You, this one. And then that witnessing becomes identified with the apparatus. But that point of identification, which is the ego, the sense of me as Dave and you as you, is a psychosomatic or a spiritual energetic, if you like, functional aspect of the Leela. And it's, as a functional aspect of the Leela, it's an object which is witnessed by, I'm going to say, you, the real you, which is the witnessing, which is universal. In that sense, this talk is a talk that God gives to God. So, that identified consciousness, that sense of the me, which is part of the body-mind organism or part of the vibratory pattern of consciousness in the appearance, in the manifestation, is basically just another spontaneously arising phenomena. It doesn't represent the existence. It doesn't denote the existence. It doesn't connotate the existence. It doesn't point to, infer the existence of a separate someone. As Paul Hedderman says, there is no separate, long-lasting, independent entity. And Jean Klein, there is not a single independent entity anywhere in the entire cosmos. Breathe. We can breathe a huge, impersonal, universal breath, which is a movement of love. And in this understanding, we see that the ego in the body mind here or there is being seen, and the egos out there, the other egos, are all just appearances in consciousness being witnessed by the universal presence, the universal consciousness. It brings us to silence. It brings us to love. In this understanding that all action happens spontaneously, that everything that happens is a movement of the totality, God is playing all the roles. And I think, we need to remember as well, I suggest anyway, that not only is God playing all the roles, but all of the roles and everything that happens, remember, is just an appearance in consciousness. It is a wave in the ocean. It doesn't matter how many waves happen, how many storms happen, and how many calm days happen in the journey and the story of the ocean, the story of the universe, or the story of the humanity, or the story of your life. It's all an appearance. It happened, the wave happened, but nothing happened to the water. You see, something happened to the water and nothing happened to the water. And that's the Leela. You see? So remember, with God's Leela is you're always safe, you're always well, everything is okay in the absolute, in the fundamental essence, at the universal level, which can be realized and is the actuality. It is the actuality. Right now, it is the actuality. Recognized, it is accentuated, and it is revealed. And that's awakening, that's enlightenment. But it's the actuality always. It's just something that can be recognized. It's already the case. And this this understanding can simplify your life, that everything's happening spontaneously, and that the me sense, the identified aspect of consciousness, is an object, just like it's spontaneously arising object, you see, like any other object, you see. And see, self-inquiry is the movement of consciousness to examine that identified me and say, what is it? Because when it's, remember I said consciousness or awareness sees through the appearance. So when we take attention and we focus it in on the sense of I or the sense of me, we see through it. But I don't suggest that you look at it in order to see through it, because then you'll have an expectation about, and some kind of possibly and likely imagination about what might happen, how things might unfold. Just look at it to see its nature. Look at the sense of I to see its nature. And with the idea that you don't know, but you want to look and see in the same way that I could hold up this pen and you could look at it and see it. You want to look at it and see it, and like, what does it do? What is it? What is its dimension? What's it made of? What does it taste like? You want to have that kind of exploratory investigation of your own sense of I or me. And, within the understanding, we are going for enlightenment. So it is within the understanding. We want to get to this, we want the revelation of our true nature, which sages tell us is this oneness, universal awareness. But to me, that's the practice of self-inquiry. And it can reveal the insubstantiality of the me sense, that it's just a thought or feeling. It's a thought feeling. And it has no power. It's not the real you, and it's something that is being seen. It's being seen by a non-local, all-pervading awareness. And when it is seen through and the flash of awakening happens that reveals the universal presence, thereafter our activity in the world, which doesn't change but is revealed, see, it doesn't change in the sense that it is seen to be spontaneous. It's not that it becomes spontaneous, you see. All action has always been spontaneous. Whether or not the sense of authorship or the sense of doership is present, the action is spontaneous. And even the sense of authorship or the sense of doership itself arises spontaneously. And how much more beautiful will life be when the sense of blame of others and the sense of hatred for others, the sense when that's gone. You might still get angry, you'll still have all the same spontaneous reactions, but there'll be no deep-seated, blame. Much more compassion. If someone's a jerk, you can have compassion. The saying, but for the grace of God, there go I. See? And if you're one of these types like I was, or you're inclined towards self-improvement, well, chances are it will continue. It's quite the paradox. The mind kind of in its functioning wants to improve. And all of that kind of stuff can still continue. And because you have to understand, it's all spontaneous. Someone like Tony Robbins, I often think of this, someone like Tony Robbins in his life and all of the lives that he touches, that's all a spontaneous happening. It's the totality, the functioning of the totality. It's an appearance in consciousness. The thing about witnessing that the body mind is being seen. And I think it's when we hear the term the witness as a seeker, we can imagine that there's some distance, so therefore there's some detachment. But actually, the witnessing, the awareness that you are, is all pervading. It's transcendental and it's immanent. So it's quite paradoxical. There's witnessing, but the witness is pushed up against. That's why the identification happens, you see. The witnessing awareness pervades that thought form, and the thought form says I, and somehow the identification happens. You see, but the witnessing is pervading that which is witnessed. It's so intimate in its immanence.